Yo, what's going on YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for all the comments and just giving me more ideas on what type of content should be created for the channel. On my last video, I know I did some enhancements to finish off the haircut, but I didn't really record that part of it. But I got a lot of comments asking for an enhancement video. So today, I didn't just solely focus on enhancements on this haircut right here, or this tutorial, but I did want to kind of just briefly go over some of the stuff that I use and how I go about applying my enhancements. So make sure you stay tuned all the way through the haircut and check out the enhancements part at the end, because that's one of the last steps that I do just to finish off and give it that finishing touch. A lot of barbers make the mistake of, you know, just solely relying on enhancements. You got to make sure you cut the hair first, make sure that blend is there, and then you can go back and add the finishing touches. So that's what I do in this video, is just add my finishing touches using the enhancements. If you're new to the channel, thank you for watching, thank you for tuning in. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that bell for the notifications. I'm dropping every single Tuesday. Before we get into this video, let's go ahead and run that intro. Alright, so here it is. This is one of my good clients said. He gets kind of a 2-in-1 haircut where he gets like a taper fade on the sides, but he also gets a shadow fade as well. And again, I'm using a reverse fade technique, but the first thing I'm going to want to do with this haircut is make sure I'm picking it out. Get it nice and picked out, just so I know what hairs are uneven, what I need to go over. Make sure that I can see the growth patterns in the hair, so that way when I go through with this number 4 guard, I'm making sure that I'm following all the swirls, making sure I'm following the growth pattern of the hair, going with the grain, just cutting everything all even on the top with a 4 guard closed. Using my hand as master. And it's very important that you pick that hair out when you first start, just to make sure that everything that needs to be cut down you can see, and you know what you're working with. Now I'm going to go with a number 1 guard closed, and I'm going to start to create my guideline all the way around. My shadow fade is going to be a little bit of a high fade on the sides, and then we're going to drop down in the back. So you can see that my guideline goes up higher on the sides, and then I come down right above the occipital bone in the back. And I'm just going to work that all the way around, creating that shadow fade guideline. And I'm always making sure that I'm mindful of the ear. See, I'm pulling that ear down, just making sure that I don't catch his ear by accident. If you're a beginner barber, make sure that you're mindful of that ear. Now I'm going to go back in with a number 2 guard all the way open, and I'm just going to start to bump out that guideline that I created. Again, as a barber, man, you want to make sure that you're working all the way around the head, spinning that chair and just saving lots of time doing that. You know, you start moving around the chair, start dancing around the chair, you waste a lot of time, and you limit yourself on how many clients you could take throughout the day. So now I'm going to go back around with that number 2 guard. I had it open when I went around the first time, so now I'm going back around closed, angling that guard, making sure that I'm using the corners of the teeth, brushing that hair every single time just to make sure I don't have any excess hair left behind. So I'm just going to brush, make sure that all that hair that I'm cutting is out of the way, and I got a clean slate. And you can see that I kind of went back over with the number 2 guard with the grain, just to knock off that little bump that was on the top of the head, just creating that nice blend. If you need to go back over, that's the good thing about this reverse fade technique, is that you can always go back, flip that clipper around and bump out those little bit of lines that you might see. So same thing, I'm working right underneath where I left off with that number 2 guard closed. Now I got a number 1 guard open, and you can already see how that fade is starting to come back in, because remember, I set this guideline with a number 1. So 1 guard open is almost going to completely erase that line. I'll probably have to come back around and close that guard down just a little bit, just to bump out that line. So now we're going to begin our taper fade, and in the back I'm going to go ahead and set my guideline. I like to set this guideline right underneath the occipital bone, because I don't want that fade to really go over the occipital bone. I want it to sit right underneath, where it kind of still camouflages the occipital bone just a little bit. But I am going to go right into it, because he likes his tapers to be a little higher in the back. They last a little longer. So I'm not going to go too low, but I do want to make sure that I leave a little bit of hair right on that occipital bone to kind of cover that up a little bit. And right here I'm just using a no guard, and I'm just fading that out, closing my guard, you know, using my barber eye to see what it is that I'm working on, using the corners of the blade, not always using that full blade. A lot of beginner barbers like to use that full blade on everything. Make sure you use that blade to your advantage. use the corners, do what you got to do to bump those lines out. So right here on the side, I did the same thing. I set the guideline with my master all the way closed. Now I'm bumping that out with my master open, and then I'm coming back with my master halfway closed and just getting rid of that last little piece of line, right? And you see how I'm maneuvering that clipper. I'm using every angle of the blade, you know, beveling that blade out. Now I'm going back through with a 0 guard, because remember I set the shadow fade with a 1 guard. So now I'm gonna go through with a 0 guard and just bump that last little bit of weight out. Now I'm going with my new Centennial trimmer, and I'm just gonna make sure that that is nice and bald on that side. And again, on the other side, I did the same thing. Set the guideline, use my master with the guard open to bump that line out. And then I'll go back through with a 0 guard to finish off the little bit of weight that gets left behind from that 0 to a 1 guard. I'm going in between there and just making sure that that blend is nice and clean. And then see, 0 guard, finishing it up like I said. And you see how I just used the very corner of that blade as I came through the tight areas. Now I'm gonna go ahead and start lining up the back of the neck. And you see I use my index finger as a kickstand to kind of keep that ear from getting cut by that clipper. So you just want to make sure that you're very mindful, making sure my client is very comfortable in the chair. I'm not being too aggressive. I'm not applying a lot of pressure when it comes to putting my tool around his neck, because this is a sensitive area. So I do want to be very mindful of the sensitivity around the neck area. And this tool right here, once it's 0 gap, can be very sharp. So you want to make sure that you're being light-handed and just being mindful of the client. So another step that I take before I start to line up my client in the front is I like to bump down that very front edge of the edge up. It just helps the edge up kind of lay down. It helps that when you line it up, it just makes that edge up kind of pop a little more. So I like to cut that down just a little bit and kind of freehand it. I did use a number 1 guard. Sometimes I'll use a no guard and kind of just freehand over it. But you can see how that line is just sitting on there really crispy once you cut that down. If you try to do it while the number 4 guard is there without bumping that down, it just looks like there's a little bit of a lip on that front hairline. So make sure you're bumping it down just a little bit and then lining them up. So one thing I really enjoy doing is a hot lather shave, and not only for my client but for myself as well, because it does help with that razor blade, just helping it glide through the skin, opening up that cuticle, and just making it super simple to use your razor blade where it needs to be used without having to struggle. When I was first starting cutting hair, I did used to dry shave a lot, but once I started doing this method right here, not only is it relaxing and comfortable for my client, but it makes my job 10 times easier. And to be honest with you, there would be a lot of times where I'd be in the barbershop and I didn't have a lunch break. I would put that hot towel on my client, walk to the back, eat my food, and then I'd come back to them. Take me like 10 minutes. They'd be laying back, wouldn't even notice I was gone. Come back, finish up the haircut. And you know how it is when you're taking care of multiple clients in a day, you got to make time to eat. So here it is, guys. We're getting into the enhancements part. I've done the lineup. I hit them with the razor. So this right here is going to be my Barber magic pencil. I'll leave one link down below. I'm going to try to find it on Amazon and link it down below. For my enhancements, I'm using Kiss Express, and I don't cut it with water. I don't mix it with anything. I use it straight out of the bottle. If I do need to cut it with water, if I have a lighter skin client, I will just use the straight up black and cut it with water, and it works really well. I've never had any issues with any irritation or anyone having an allergic reaction to this product. I really love this product. And they also sell that Kiss brush that I was just using as well. I'll leave that linked in the comments. And the thing about enhancements is you want to make sure you brush that hair back. Not sure if you guys seen me brush that hair back, made sure that the hair laid down right where I needed it to be. And then I'm actually just creating a background for the hair. So I'm not staining the hair, I'm staining the skin behind the hair to make sure that it gives it a background and makes that hairline look a lot fuller. So when it comes to enhancements and you're doing enhancements, it's not about dyeing the hair, it's about staining the skin behind the hair to give the illusion of a fuller look. So make sure that you're brushing that hair back and then going over it with the enhancements, and then you want to brush the hair back down and then reline it up with your edger or your razor blade to get rid of the ash line that you created with the magic pencil. The magic pencil is not meant to stay on the scalp, on the skin. You know, when the client walks out with that white chalk line, that is not how it's meant to be done. you want to make sure that you are blending that line out and getting rid of that ash line to give it a more blended look, because you're just creating contrast between the skin and the dark hairline to make it pop. So when you see that hairline and people leave that white chalk line, that's not really how this pencil is meant to be used. Some clients might ask for that, but you know, to each his own. I just don't prefer that white chalk line on my clients. So then I brushed the hair back down, went back over it with the razor to again get rid of that chalk line, stretching that skin out with my opposite hand. And now I'm gonna add a little bit of gel and sponge it up. And there it is, guys. It's a shadow fade with a bald taper. My boy said, appreciate him for always coming through and allowing me to videotape while I'm in the barbershop working. All right, so there it is, guys. That's my video for this Tuesday. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. If you liked the video, let me know in the comments. Let me know what you thought. Let me know if I need to get more in detail with certain things. If there's questions that you guys might have for me, leave them in the comments below. Again, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, show me some love. And again, I'll be right back here every single Tuesday. So stay tuned. I'll catch you guys on the next one.